Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. Ahead of a fairly big weekend of racing, we have group action from York. We also have a Group 1 King George from Ascot, where hopefully Golden Horn will be heading to go the Derby Eclipse and King George travel on hopefully his way towards the Juddmonte and the Arc. The weather will play a big hand in that. It's been raining all day at Ascot. It's subsided for the moment, we've been told, but there is more rain due later on this evening and overnight. So we'll keep an eye on how bad the ground will be. It was a little bit on the soft side today. It was picking up as well, but it's fast ground at York, where hopefully we should have another good day of racing. We also have Newmarket as well that are hosting a good card with a few good handicaps on it. Joining me this evening, it's just you, Callum.
It is, yeah.
It's going to be a different vibe tonight.
It'll be a quicker show, I think.
It'll be a quicker show because we don't have Adam talking all the time.
Yeah.
Tennis says he's watching.
He is.
Looking forward to today's racing or tomorrow's racing, whatever.
Yeah, a bit pissed off, to be honest, that the ground's going to change everything, but you know, it's the King George Day. It's always a good card, and there's some decent support races elsewhere with York and Newmarket as well, which isn't on Channel 4, but there's a decent card there.
Early thoughts of whether Golden Horn will run?
I don't know, to be honest. If they really are not keen on running on genuine soft ground, which you'd expect it to be tomorrow, then I don't think they'll run. You know, it's 3 weeks since the eclipse. It's going to be a tough race on attritional ground, so unfortunately, I don't think he will take his chance. The Times suggested today that the ground wasn't too bad, but they've had more rain. There could be even more rain between now and tomorrow, and you know, it's going to be horrible tacky ground. So I wouldn't surprise they don't. You know, they don't risk him and you know leave some at the Juddmonte.
It's the kind of race. It's the kind of race that would leave its mark for the rest of the season, going into the Juddmonte, going into the Arc, maybe even the Irish Champion Stakes, and it really could bottom him for the rest of the season. Hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully we do get to see Golden Horn in all his glory tomorrow afternoon at Ascot in the King George. As always, though, you can get involved with the show. At On The Other Hoof is our Twitter handle. You can tweet us anything about the upcoming weekend's racing, and we'll read it out at the end of the show. We're also interested to hear what your selections are for tomorrow. Send in your tips, and we will also read them out at the end of the show. And, well, you can put them up against ours and see how you fare. But the first race that we're going to be covering is courtesy of York in the 1:45. The Sky Bet Best Odds Guaranteed EBF Fillies Handicap over a mile, 2 furlongs and 88 yards. Just a 6 runners go here, Callum. There's a short price favourite in Chain of Daisies. I was questioning to you why this is on Channel 4, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not the best of races, is it? Just trying to see what's won it in the last few years. I remember it being on Channel 4 last year as well when Cleo won it. I'm not quite sure why. I think the favourite is very, very solid ahead of the market. Form of both those wins have been boosted since. Banditry was an impressive winner at Epsom's since, run well at Chester's, probably a bit unlucky. Pacifies one since, albeit a 2-runner race, but he looks a pretty decent horse. Chain of Daisies, you know, it's hardly even a stronger race, this, to be honest, against her own sex this time. If you want a price, I think Mythical City can get back on track. I think you can certainly ignore that last run on really fast ground at Newmarket, where they went really fast up front. She just couldn't really handle it, I don't think. Back on a galloping track like York, I think she could be overpriced. I can see her potentially maybe getting her own way out in front, and if she does, I think she'll run better than last time, certainly. And you know, D'Souza and Johnston, those the two men in form at the moment.
They're dominating absolutely everything at the moment.
To be honest, I did expect her to be a bit shorter in the market, but so I think she'll run well. I'm not that keen on Parashutter's form, to be honest, and Supreme Occasion ran into a decent enough one of William Haggis's last time, but probably has a little bit to find off this mark. So yeah, Mythical City for a bit of value, but I do think the favourite's very solid. I don't think I'd really want to oppose her, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not a betting race for me whatsoever. I think Chain of Daisies, the favourite, is the most likely winner for Henry Candy. James Dawes been in fantastic form amongst the winners today at York. I think he might have had one at Thirsk as well. I could be making that up.
Yeah.
But he's been in fantastic form recently. He's a short enough price, Chain of Daisies, but that form with Pacifier, a horse that I'm quite a big fan of, looks to have been boosted, albeit, as Callum said, in a 2-runner race against Resonant, but nonetheless, Pacify is a horse going in the right direction. Not a race that we're going to spend too much time covering, but this one we may do, the 205 from Ascot, on our first visit to Ascot of the day. The Princess Margaret Juddmonte Stakes, a fillies Group 3, over 6 furlongs. This is a really competitive race, actually, with the likes of Bishara, Rara turning up. You're siding, however, with the wonderfully named, what do I want that for?
What a name.
For connections that have Zarkandar and Silvaniaco Conti.
Like I said, I told you earlier, they didn't name those lot.
No, but still silly.
They've got four a name judgment. Yeah, Bishara more than deserves to be favourite. I know she hasn't proven us yet to run on anything softer than good ground. I don't really know how she's going to handle it, to be honest. It could potentially be a worry, but she sets the standard, and certainly that knows second to Luminati last time, and Queen Mary Run was a cracker, so she's arguably improving still, and she's in good hands. What do I want that for was no match for her at Windsor back in June, but she's improved since. She's won her last 2 starts, and she was a bit keen both times, to be honest, but she did it in pretty good style, and she beat a horse I quite like in Fine Blend of Willie Muir's that had impressed me on debut, and I'd actually backed Fine Blend in that. And what do I want that for was value for a good couple of lengths more. So I think she's a little bit underrated in this market. I'm tempted to back her. She's also won a maiden on good to soft, so I think the ground will be no issue. 6 to 4, 4 to 1. I'd certainly rather be in the Hannon horses camp at those prices. Salvo's interesting. I thought it won quite nicely at Newmarket. Great Page, I think it's looking a bit exposed, but it definitely wants a bit further.
The thing that I would mention about Great Page is that her best forms come over in Ireland at Naas. That was on good to yielding. It's probably more yielding than good at that day. So potentially Great Page could be the one that benefits most from the softer ground.
Yeah, she'll handle it.
Yeah,
she'll handle it without doubt. And I don't think the decision to put her back over 5 furlongs worked last time. Although I thought she ran okay from a less than ideal draw. So I'd be a bit disappointed if she won this. Though I think she's starting to look a bit exposed, and it's similar with Rara, who had every chance in that Illuminate race. She disqualified.
Dead heat, I mean.
Disqualified, apparently.
Disqualified. She inconvenienced Eastern Angel.
Eastern Angel, wasn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be a bit disappointed if one of those two won, to be honest. So I'm tempted to back. What do I want that for, to be honest?
It's not a race that I have a bet in. I think, undoubtedly, I think Bishara is the one to beat. She brings the best form in this, hands down. But there's a few that could potentially improve past her. What do I want that for? Is a fastly improving horse. I mentioned Great Page potentially being the best on this ground. She's got a bit to find on official ratings, only £3 with Bishara. She's had plenty of chances as well, Great Page, but she's been a horse that I've liked since debut. Over in Naas, we mentioned that she won on good to yielding. It's probably more yielding than good on that day. So it wouldn't be a huge negative if the ground did turn up very much soft tomorrow, which is looking like it's going to do. So I would side with Great Page each way. It's not a race that I really want to have a bet in at all. Bishara is undoubtedly the one that they will have to beat. But for me, I'd side with Great Page. I think Pat Dobbs, do you think Pat Dobbs will get the Hannon job next year?
I bloody hope so.
He
really deserves
Pat Dobbs'
it.
biggest fan over here.
I'm not Pat Dobbs' biggest fan. I just think he's highly underrated.
Yeah, I agree with that, to be fair. But hopefully Great Page can represent some value tomorrow, about 8 to 1. Moving back up to York now, though, for the 220, the Win 5000 with sportinglife.com. Pick 6 handicap, 7 furlong race, 12 horses go to post, just under £16,000 to the winner. It's competitive. Salatine, we'll start with one at a bigger price. Salatine was one that you liked, well, we both liked really, on reappearance. Was disappointing on that occasion. Has had another break of 63 days at 12 to 1. Would that represent some each way value?
Well, I would be worried about the ground, to be honest, which is a bit weird because this is the kind of horse that would want it a bit softer, wouldn't he? I was impressed with him a lot last year. The handicapper really probably didn't underestimate him at all in finishing 5 lengths behind Elm Park on ground that was definitely too fast for him. His return was pretty disappointing. He might have badly needed it, but I was quite disappointed in it. 3-year-old in this sort of race, I think he'll more than hold his own in this level. It's just, can I back him after that run? I don't think I can personally. Couple I liked in this, to be honest. I think there's a lot of pace on. When I looked at it, there's quite a few runners that are going to go forward. So I would be tempted in Withensea, who is a hold-up performer who needs a bit of luck, but he was given an absolute shocker of a ride when he got beat at Newcastle. In fact, probably at Donny as well. He was left with too much to do. Last time was a really respectable run in a race that probably didn't suit ideally. I mean, not many made up ground that day. I think the faster ground will be absolutely fine if he's running on a bit softer, but any rain would be beneficial for him. So I think he's got a chance. The one I do probably like above the rest is Above the Rest.
Thank God you didn't fancy Alejandro. Yeah. Otherwise, we'd be treats for Lady Gaga.
My head just went, wow, that's some link. Yeah, I quite liked him at Haydock. He beat a horse in Royal Seal who has disappointed since, but I think it's pretty decent form. He just looks at a really progressive sort to me, up £6, but Jordan form's on again. I think he's decent enough value for £5, to be honest. Should get the race run to suit as well, and he's versatile regarding ground. He had the beating of Alejandro last time. He was 4.5 lengths behind him, albeit there's an £8 swing with Alejandro, who won this race last year, I think. Athletic won a weak race the other day at Newmarket. I think this is tougher. Captain Bob is one maybe to put into consideration. Likewise, Alfred Hutchinson, but they're kind of on the border of horses that have kind of found their level in terms of handicapping, and they're going to struggle to win this sort of race, but keep on, not disgracing. Above the Rest is my main fancy. I'll probably say from Withensea, but I do quite like Above the Rest. It
wouldn't surprise me with Athletic if he were to put in another big effort. Jenny Powell, again, McCracken ride at Newmarket last time out. It's only gone up £4 for that. Jenny Powell still on claiming £5 off, and it just looks as if he had turned a new leaf that day. Obviously, it was a much weaker race. Was carrying 10 stone without taking into factor the claim of Jenny Powell. But into this race, it is a much tougher contest. I'd be more inclined to side with Alejandro, to be honest. It's a horse I've had on my radar for quite a while, and he's slowly but surely been coming back into form. He won this race last year. David Nolan took the ride on that occasion. Danny Tutto, recently back from injury, takes the ride on Alejandro on this occasion. The Yard are in fine form. He's got that £8 swing with Above the Rest, as Callum mentioned. So, again, it's a very, very tricky race. Good luck to you if you find the winner of it. I'd be siding with Alejandro over Above the Rest.
It's a bit short, I thought.
Alejandro. It is, yeah. It is.
It's pretty much based on the fact that, he won it last year and he's on a decent mark. And
it's pretty much that. It's, again,
hasn't really shown enough to suggest that he's a 5-1 favourite.
No, I'm going to use this term quite a bit. It's again not overly a betting race for me, but if I were to have one, it would be Alejandro. However, unless the price goes out significantly, I wouldn't really be too interested in backing him at 5-1. Back down to Ascot for a bit of softer ground racing now for the 240, the Weatherby's private banking handicap over a mile. Again, really, really tricky race. It doesn't get much easier this afternoon, does it? You quite like Azraf, don't you?
Yeah, I like a couple in this, actually. Azraf is probably my main fancy at the prices. He's been running in decent enough races this season, been finding a few too good, to be fair to him. But there's no disgrace losing to Peacock at Kempton. Mama's Boy's done okay since the time test race at Newbury was extremely strong, and Oracolo was a horse that disappointed last time, but he's definitely a pretty decent horse. My main reason for going for him, I know he's up £4 for that, but I think he'll love the ground. Last year he won on softer ground, a nursery on softer ground, and they said at the time that he was a horse that did want that sort of ground. So I've been waiting for him, just having on my mind for a potential handicap on slightly softer ground. He's been pulled up a couple of times on very fast ground recently. So I think tomorrow he's got a really good chance, to be honest, but it's just, whether he finds one of these progressive horses simply too good, and there is plenty of them. But I do think he's improving. Definitely going the right way, albeit steadily, and some of these could be rapidly going the right way. Grand Inquisitor could be one of those. I think we'd agree, wouldn't we?
Yeah, big time.
Thought he won quite nicely at Sandown last time. The step up in triple suit, the maiden behind Field of Light, it wasn't the best of maidens, but he won it very convincingly, and he deserves to be at the head of the market. I wouldn't have him that short, but I think he deserves to be right up there. Pick your choice is probably the one I think is the most likely winner. Been very impressed with him on the all-weather at Chelmsford. I know it's Chelmsford form, but the forms works out extremely well. He was behind Western Reserve in a maiden, and then he beat Rifle Range in another maiden, which is a really useful performance, and he won it very easily. He's improved on each start, and he looks like he could potentially be a notch above as a handicapper, to be honest. So I do really like Pick Your Choice, and I would have him probably as favourite. So I think he's probably the bet at 6-1, as well as Azraf. The ground should be okay. He ran in a maiden on soft ground on his debut and didn't disgrace behind Booty Hill. Where's that horse? I don't know where that's gone.
Yeah, it's just disappeared. Can you put that? You put up as a horse to follow?
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocket Punch. Now I saw that performance last time. It was desperately green again, and they went a really strong gallop, and he picked them off. So I think this is a lot tougher, and he's going to have to be more streetwise. Portage hasn't had much luck in the last 2 starts. He could be quite good, but he probably doesn't deserve to be the price he is on what he's done. But he just have the potential for improvement, and the rest I think have got a bit to find. So pick your choice, and Azraf. We'll get there. I quite like this race. Pick your choice and Azraf for me.
It's a competitive race. I thought if there was one one at a big price worth taking for a small each way bet, Huey Morrison's Charge Field Game, who it goes well on softer ground, bypassed all pursuits. The ground's going to be absolutely no problem for him whatsoever. He's untried on soft ground, but was behind Assault on Rome last time out, who has gone on to frank that form and run well. This is his first try at a mile. He's still very unexposed at the trip. He seemed to go well over 7 furlongs last time, but he's been campaigned mostly over 5 furlongs. Now he tries a completely different trip. It's just how he's going to settle. But
be a bit of a worry for me.
It's interesting to me how quickly they've gone up in trip. They were starting from 5. They ran in there a few times, went up to 6, went up to 7. And instantly they've gone up to a mile. The ground is going to be absolutely no worry. I just thought 18-1 was a fair each way shout for a yard that are in decent enough form. Saying that, I do think Grand Inquisitor is the most likely winner for Sir Michael Stout. Pat Smullen taken over in the saddle. He had a ride for Sir Michael Stout today as well, actually, didn't he?
Yeah, he's getting the odd ride for Stout, hasn't he? He had a couple at Royal Ascot as well. It was late with Snow Sky, and that handicapper first defence, I think he was on.
Good knowledge. Right. He was on Exosphere today, wasn't it?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Which didn't really go to plan. Hopefully, better luck here. Back up to York though for the 2:55 next, the Sky Bet York Stakes. Group 2 over a mile, 2 furlongs and 88 yards. It's a race that promised a little bit earlier on in the week. A few have come out now. We've got a French raider in Prince Gibraltar for the Jean-Claude Rouget yard, 11-4. He's an interesting one. Would probably have wanted a bit softer ground. Custom Cut is trying out this trip, albeit I don't think it will inconvenience him too much. Bragging is a horse that we all liked at the start of the season. Things haven't really gone her way. Top Notch Tonto is another one that will probably want a little bit softer ground. And the rest you could make up any excuses for. It's a wide open race. Custom Cut's probably the most consistent of the field. Would he be your idea of the winner?
It's a race where I think you've kind of summed it up that I'm not convinced by any of them. No. Custom Cut, yeah, it has the trip to prove. He's being pushed to say he's probably the best horse because Prince Gibraltar's definitely got the best form. His French form is pretty good, to be honest. He's probably got a bit of a reputation as I don't know, a boat or
I'd have him down in the boat category.
A bit quirky, but I mean he's only beaten 4 3/4 lengths behind Trevor Niard.
He was very highly regarded as a 3-year-old, wasn't he? Very highly regarded.
He was, yeah, and rightly so.
More in the early part of his 3-year-old career, but he was very, very highly thought of at one point.
I remember, I think it was Michael was all over him when he ran in the French Derby.
Yeah, it was him. And he got no kind of run whatsoever.
No, he ran a decent race behind the Great Gatsby, beaten 3 lengths.
That kind of form bringing it into this race is outstanding.
But then obviously you look at it. I mean, he's been beaten at 10-11 and 11-8 after that, albeit in really good races, the Grand Prix de Paris and Prix Guillaume.
You're so good at French.
Yeah, I know. The ground could potentially be an issue. There's no rain. I don't know if there's any rain forecast for York, but you know, you would want him to have a bit softer, ideally. that would probably put me off enough to back him, to be honest, because and he has been well found in the market now, because I think he was 6-1 early in the week, and that's definitely a good price. But you was obviously taking the potential that he wasn't going to run. While that top-notch Tonto's got the trip to prove, and he would want a bit more rain. Thayer, I think, will run his race. It'd be disappointing if he won it, to be honest, because he's just consistent without being flashy.
I thought he was flattered last time as well. Probably not the best of
races. He had the run of the race,
didn't
he?
Yeah, exactly. It was very tactical. He went from the front. He ran the race that at the Midland Park course.
Oh, Fat Sota
should have run. But I think he was very flattered last time in a race that probably wasn't as strong as at the time people thought it was going to be.
I know what you mean, but it really didn't surprise me he won it like that, because he is, really consistent. That's what he is. He's nothing flashy. It would be a surprise if he could win a Group 2, but I think he'll run his race, and it might not be far off, because you'll guarantee he stays, and he'll like the conditions, which is what you can't say about quite a few of these.
Yeah. It's not really a race that I overly like.
I don't like it at all.
No, if I was leaning towards one, it probably would be Custom Cut. He's won a few times at a mile, and each time he hasn't suggested as if he was about to stop and call it a day.
It's worth a go, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think stamina, I can't see it being a problem, especially at a track like York. I'd be interested to see what tactics they use with Custom Cut, whether they try and really force it or whether they...
I think he has to be ridden prominently, doesn't he?
I think that's his thing, isn't it? He's gutsy. He pulls out more when others can't, really. They're trying to push him all the way, and then he will not let them pass. He's one of the toughest horses.
Over 9 furlongs, isn't he? Yeah. So an extra furlong shouldn't be an issue. He's got to give £3 as well to Prince Gibraltar.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough ask, but Custom Cut's always the horse that people may not rate as highly as some of the others with the flashy backgrounds, i.e. Prince Gibraltar, maybe even Thayer to an extent, but he is always the one that seems to prove people wrong and pull out more when you think that he's beaten. But are we both siding with Custom Cut?
Probably just about, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the only doubt I would have is stamina, but looking at it,
I can't see it being much of an issue, to be honest.
It probably isn't, is it?
No. I can't anyway. He's won over 9 furlongs. I wouldn't. If there's something that beats him tomorrow, it wouldn't be that. I think he'd be beaten on class by probably Prince Gibraltar. But it is a really, really tricky race to try and get a way through.
It's not a betting race whatsoever.
No, it'll be a good watching brief. Nonetheless, a race that is a betting race, however, and it does get easier with this one. The 3:15 at Ascot. It is the Gigaset International Stakes, a heritage handicap over 7 furlongs, and 93 grand. To the winner here. We'd imagine there'll be a few non-runners in the morning, but this is wide open.
I don't know what to expect, to be honest.
What do you make of the draw?
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point. My draw theory took a monumental blow at Royal Ascot and cost me a fortune. I'm still sticking by the fact that generally you want to be drawn low when the ground is soft, or notably when they've had recent rain, because it drains a lot better on the far side. So on that basis, I would want to be drawn low, but then on the other basis, I'm looking where the pace is, and it looks like it's going to be more drawn high. So it's a proper guessing game, to be honest. If it simply comes down to the best horse, then I do think Speculative Beard is the best horse in this race, and I think he'll actually really like the ground, because he's won on heavy before. To be honest, the reason I opposed him at Ascot was because the ground was too fast, and actually because I wasn't that keen on Ascot before when he won the Victoria Cup was because of the ground. But dropping back to 7 furlongs, I think he is the one to beat if the draw doesn't become an issue. If it does become an issue, he could be on the wrong side. I don't know what to think, to be honest. I think Heaven's Guess is a very, very solid candidate.
This isn't Newmarket, though.
Well, he's won here before, hasn't he?
Still not Newmarket.
He's won here before. He won the Bunbury Cup off 101, Obviously ran a cracker in it this year. He's beaten 1.5 lengths last year off this mark on ground that wasn't quite as soft, and he obviously loves soft ground, and comes in here off a belting run in the same race with Jack Garrity claiming £3. So I think he's got a really good chance. He's just that kind of horse that somehow keeps winning races but doesn't really go up in the handicap.
No, he doesn't seem well handicapped, but
I mean, when he won at the Bunbury Cup, he only went up £2 or whatever he did. I think he might have gone up 4, and then because it was all early closing races that he only got a £2 penalty.
Very well placed.
Like yeah, so he's a a really consistent horse, a really credit to connections. So I would be tempted by Heaven's Guest. I think he'll run a really good race. Bushcraft, I'd be worried about him staying, to be honest, on this ground. I don't think he shapes as if 7 furlongs on this sort of ground will really suit him. And I'm surprised they haven't gone to York, to be honest, which I would 100% have backed him in that race. Doncha, however we say it. What do you think of the ground?
I think he'll handle it, to be honest.
Yeah, he did win it. I think
he's won on soft at Windsor, and when it gets soft at Windsor, it gets very soft.
It was soft at Lingfield when he won as well.
He's third at Nottingham on soft as well. So
it shouldn't be an issue, should it?
No, it shouldn't be. And
it's just whether he's good enough.
Well, Tom Marquand got on really well with him at Goodwood when they won 2 outings ago. It's taking £5 off. That could be a really telling factor on tomorrow's ground and in a race like this as well.
Yeah.
For an improving horse like Doncha.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he went close, but I can just see him dropping a couple of yards short.
Yeah, he might just find a couple too good.
Yeah. I know you quite like Sir Robert Cheval, don't you?
I think he's overpriced.
Yeah.
I think 40s is a big price for a horse that needs soft ground. He's got bad knees. He doesn't let himself down on faster ground, and he's been running very well in good races on ground that he absolutely detests. He ran a good race here. I think it was over 6 furlongs behind. Who's the Chris Wall horse? Basil Berry.
Yeah.
That was over 6 furlongs on good ground. He wasn't beaten all that far, 3 lengths, and that he was only beaten 3 lengths by fading in the final few stages. Then he went up to Newcastle, was behind Free Code again, staying on all too late on ground that it was officially good to soft. It was probably still a bit too fast. I don't think it was really riding good to soft. It was more good ground that day. And last time at Newcastle, he just got going again all too late on good ground, which was miles too fast for him. For a soft ground horse that's finally going to get his ground, I think 40 to 1 is a huge price about him. And he's got the additional £3 off from Mark Monaghan, who's a very useful £3 claimer.
Yeah, I was looking at those rags at the bottom of the betting. Redford's would be one that I thought would be quite interesting at that sort of pricey shaped, a bit better in a race I didn't think was that strong, admittedly, but he loves Ascot, so he could just, I don't know, revive here. Wouldn't surprise me if he ran a better race, considering his marks dropping down. But to be honest, I'm really tempted just to try and leave this race altogether in terms of betting, because it is quite hard to know what's going to happen. But
one horse I wanted to put to you was Nakuti, who I've always put down as a softer ground horse.
So have I.
And he won really well at Pontefract last time. I don't think he actually led either. And it's a track that at the moment is really favouring.
She was up there.
She was up there, but it's really favouring horses that make the pace at the moment. And she won really nicely, it has to be said. But this race might just be a little bit too much for her under a £3 penalty.
Could be, but she's got the ground and she's back to 7 furlongs, which shouldn't be an issue because she's got more than enough speed for it. And 7 furlongs on soft ground will actually really suit her. If she is improving, I didn't think that listed race was great, but I did think she was overpriced at 33 to 1. I would agree with you because she only got £3. She had a £3
penalty.
Got a
£3 penalty, yeah.
So
it's the kind of horse that you could have a couple of quid each way on if she give you a run.
Yeah, and if I'm right with the draw, she's on the right side. So yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if she ran well. Certainly with the place, I wouldn't be surprised either. Susie's Connoisseur runs another good race. To be honest, I thought he ran a really good race in the Bunbury. He travelled beautifully before not really finding much, but he won on heavy ground last year. Beat Athletic at Leicester. The visor's on tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to say it's interesting to put in the visor on They've had cheap pieces, haven't they? So it's just a switch.
Blinkers, hood.
Yeah, this is the last throw of the dice for
it. It is, yeah.
But,
it hasn't really reacted to headgear before, to be honest. So it's guesswork.
Right, I'll pin you down to 3 horses you can pick out of 29.
Heaven's Guest, without doubt.
Do you want me to do mine first?
Well, no, I'll go Donica for second, and Price, I'll go for Redford's.
Okay, I'll take Donica, then I'll go for Sir Robert Chabal and Nakuti.
I will probably only back Heaven's Guest, I think.
I've already backed Sir Robert Chabal. At the moment, it's my only bet of the day tomorrow. But Bet365 are offering first 5 places. At the moment, depending how many non-runs we get tomorrow, that will still be sticking around. But 40 to 1, I think Sir Robert Chabal is a huge price. But that's one of the better races of the day tomorrow. We've got to go up to York next for the 3:30, which is the Sky Bet Dash. Now, this is the race that you wanted Bushcraft to go for initially, wasn't it?
Yeah, big time. Do you not agree?
I would agree. Yeah, I don't think 7 furlongs will suit him. Maybe on good ground it would have suited him better.
Yeah,
it's not going to suit him tomorrow.
I'm really surprised they're not going for this, because it's probably not a stronger race either.
It's probably more that it was a much more valuable contest down at Ascot, and they probably weren't expecting the ground to turn up as soft as it was.
Yeah, it's not very good prize money for the dash, is it?
No,
I thought it was more than that.
31,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty modest handicap.
Looking at that, you can understand why they went down to Ascot for the international, but. Interesting. The 3:30 at York, that is the Sky Bet Dash, a handicap over 6 furlongs, 20 horses go to post. Then price-wise has sided with Algar Lad, who is a horse that we wanted to keep on side. He's been a bit disappointing for me recently.
There's only one run since he won.
I think he's been a non-runner about 3 times actually.
And he didn't run too badly.
No.
It was a bit of a weird run though. He just looked a bit laboured.
He was never doing anything.
No.
He was just sort of plugging on past beaten horses, so to speak.
He might be that kind of horse, just has to be on a going day kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced by him tomorrow, and I don't think you are either.
No, I agree with that.
But he's unexposed still over 6 furlongs. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I've always thought that he was a horse, even when he was running over 5, that he would benefit from 6, and he won nicely 2 outings ago at York, and he was very much on a going day that day. And it's interesting that they've really given this horse to Sam James as his horse. So there's plenty going for him. I wouldn't really be all for him tomorrow, if I'm perfectly honest. But as we mentioned off air earlier, or as you mentioned off air earlier, Muthmir won this last year. A similar profile to Tanzil. Yeah,
Muthmir placed in that race on Northumberland Plate Day. 6 furlong handicap, I think, got beat by I can't remember the name of it. That begins with T. That Fire horse, Talisu, and Tanzil ran a really eye-catching race on the far side. Was sticking on nicely, but clearly needed it. I think it could improve a good bundle here, to be honest. And I think 8 to 1, I'm actually quite tempted, because I think he just could be a notch above these. A lot of these handicappers just look like pretty exposed sorts that one of them could be waiting their turn at some point, but he could just be a notch above that sort of mark. So he'd be well ahead on my shortlist personally. What Kimberella he's not the kind of horse I can see following up in this sort of race personally.
If there was one in this race that I was going to take out of the Kimberella race, it would be Bogart. He's come right back to a bit of form. He's well handicapped on his old running. He's off a mark of 94 tomorrow, and I don't know whether I'd used the word inconvenience last time, because he was the only one coming up the stand side rail. Kimberella was in the centre alongside another horse, I can't remember the name of it. But whether being closer to Kimberella, having something to really race against, would have helped Bogart out, I'm not sure. But at 12 to 1, I'd say I'd rather him than Kimberella.
Neil Callan's back on tomorrow, which is quite interesting.
It's good to see Neil Callan back in his country. So
yeah. I backed him, I think, in the Algar Lad race. So I backed both him and Algar Lad. And somebody mentioned to me saying that they didn't think Bogart properly saw out 6 furlongs. Okay. And I'd probably, looking back at it, I was thinking, look at his form. I'm trying to see, well, he's got a soft ground run over 6 furlongs where he finished 4th or something like that. So he sees it out, but does he see it out well enough? And I'd probably agree that he potentially doesn't.
No.
He's definitely a 5.5 furlong horse. So I'd be more interested in something at the Ebor meeting, which I would say the same for See the Sun, who is a horse that's really on my radar at the moment. He came from the same race in the Bushcraft one, and Tanzil ran in, and he ran a cracker. He ran from the front from a long way. He won a really valuable 3-year-old handicap here last year, making every yard. That was over 6 furlongs, but his asset is speed, and that's my potential worry. In this sort of grade, I think 6 furlongs isn't quite as suitable as 5. There's that handicap over 5.5 furlongs on the first day of the E-Ball meeting, which is perfect for him. That's the one I've got in my mind. So I can hope. I'll probably leave him tomorrow and hope that he runs well and catches the eye or something and doesn't win. But I'm sure he's definitely really well handicapped now. I think he's one to really keep an eye on. And Highlander Clave's the other one, who's got 4 duck eggs to his name now.
Price-wise as well.
He is price-wise. Yeah. He's taken a bit of leap of faith, but he's finally been dropped a few pounds down the handicap. He was really progressive last year. He's a bit quirky. He likes fast ground, which he should get. Daniel Tudhope's on tomorrow as well, so I will probably have a few quid on him because I'll kick myself if he wins and I don't. But he can definitely pop up at some point, and he's dropping to a decent mark, and he's just a typical David O'Mara horse that pops up from time to time and wins. But if he can continue the form he was in last year, then he's absolutely thrown in. He was a cracking second to Spinatrix in October off £1 lower. And he was just so progressive last year, so I think he can regain the thread tomorrow. But Tanzil, I think, is the one to beat, and I'll definitely be back in.
I think you made the right point.
Sorry.
While trying to destroy our house, that Tanzil is the progressive one against more exposed handicappers, with the likes of I don't know if I call Algarlad exposed yet over 6 furlongs, but Kimberella definitely, Bogart definitely. There's a few in this that just
3-year-olds. We haven't really mentioned them. Encore d'Or and Grandad's World. What do you think?
I think they're up against it, to be honest. Grandad's World hooded first time's interesting, but I still think he might be up against it in this race. He's got some decent form, the likes with Twilight Sun. Disappointed.
Bit disappointed last time.
Yeah.
Maybe probably wants a bit softer.
A bit of giving the
I mean, he's disappointed twice at Newmarket now, but it could be the track more than anything. But it was both. The correlation was that it was fast ground both times, and his run at York was on softer ground. But that's really good form, that race. It's worked out extremely well, and similar to Encore d'Or, who's 6th in it. But I don't know. I think they've got to improve.
Are we going to agree on Tanzil for this one then?
If you go with Tanzil,
yeah,
I'll go with Tanzil.
I'd agree with Tanzil. So yes. We're agreeing on that. That'll be the on the other hoof nap, which isn't as impressive when it's just 2 people, to be honest.
Hey, what is it? Well, we'll go through naps later, but I fancy very little tomorrow, and I'm thinking that's going to be actually my real nap.
I do as well, to be honest. Not as a nap outright, but I don't fancy a great deal tomorrow. It's a really, really tricky race, a tricky day of racing. I should say the 350 at Ascot is the last race we're going to be covering. But before that, if you do want to get in touch with the show, you can tweet us at On The Other Hoof. Any questions, fancies that you may have regarding tomorrow or Sunday's racing. We've also got Jellicle Ball very shortly, making debut over in Saratoga for Grey Emotion. So I'll be looking forward to that. But any questions or fancies that you want to send in regarding tomorrow or Sunday's racing, we'll be happy to read them out at the end of the show. Just tweet us at On The Other Hoof, and we'll read them out very shortly. One more race to cover, though. The King George is coming up, the Group 1 over 1.5 miles. Now, this really is a race where Goldenhorn could cement himself as one of the, dare we use the word, greats?
Oh, don't. I really hope Ryan's not watching this right now.
They were discussing it on Racing UK. I cannot remember who it was. It might have been Eddie Fremantle last night at Sandown. And
it's not great.
He's getting there, though.
Yeah.
If a horse wins a Derby, an Eclipse, and a King George, I'd say
on different grounds, and I think he needs to remain unbeaten for me to call him a great. A great is a See the Stars or a Frankel.
Yeah.
So See the Stars. If we're going to compare him to See the Stars, then he hasn't.
I think Goldenhorn will have to come back next year to prove that, but he's not going to.
No, but See the Stars didn't, did he?
No, it's fair. That's a fair point.
And again, he ran. He won a Guineas.
He won everything. So
Derby,
yeah. But Goldenhorn for tomorrow. Firstly, is he going to run?
Well, the thing is, if you're looking at his price now, what is he actually nearly odds against? I mean, if he ran, could you see him beat based on the ground? Because I think we've got a question in saying, is Golden Horn an appealing price now? And if he ran, then he should be collecting your even money.
The worry I have with Golden Horn is that he had a tough race in the Eclipse against.
I disagree on that. I think it was deceptive. It was, it wasn't the most strongly run races. But yeah, he was given a proper battle, but I don't think he was given I don't think it was a necessarily tough race, and I think he's that kind of horse that really takes his racing well. He's a real battle-hardened horse, so it wouldn't worry me whatsoever about him bouncing after Sandown at all.
That would be my worry with him, to be honest. They were racing a long way from home. Jamie Spencer really engaged him, probably on straightening up for home, which is a full 4 furlongs out.
They haven't gone, really fast from the start. They've gone just an honest gallop. So I would agree with you. If they'd gone from really fast from the start, that takes more out of a horse. But they were just finishing at a normal pace, really. But he was in a race. He was just given a proper race. I would argue just as much that he had a harder race at Epsom than he did at Sandown, personally.
I don't know. I wouldn't agree with that necessarily. It's something that we're not going to find out until he next runs. We could debate it until.
It's not a worry at all for me, anyway.
It's something that I would definitely have in the back of my mind anyway regarding Golden Horn. I hope for all money that I'm wrong and that he does come out tomorrow, he does run, does handle the ground and absolutely pounds everything in the field. But that would be my one slight worry with him. In opposition to him, could anything on merit anyway beat him?
Not on merit, unless he runs probably a good £11-12 below his best for anything to even.
The closest one to him in official ratings is Snow Sky, which I'm not buying at all.
No, I'm not at all.
I think Snow Sky was very much flattered at Ascot. I think it was a fantastic ride from Pat Smullen to win Hardwick. It was one of the rides of the week in my mind. As good as Ryan Moore was, that was absolutely outstanding for Snow Sky, who I don't think was the best horse in that race. I think he just dictated a slow pace, kicked at the right time, and outstayed everything else with Eagle Top and Postbone getting into a barging match. Telescope seemingly not the same horse.
Yeah, and he's put them to sleep, didn't he? Really,
it was an outstanding ride from Pat Smullen. Would he confirm that tomorrow? I highly doubt it.
Is the ground an issue for Snow Sky? I know Pat Smullen's come out and said, he'll handle it better than others. I know he won a Salisbury Maiden on heavy ground, and he disappointed
in the Racing Post Trophy.
In the Racing Post Trophy on soft ground, albeit you could probably excuse that.
Yeah,
and he's pretty much been kept to really fast ground since.
One of the things that Adam said earlier on in the week, which I completely disagree with, I think is horribly wrong saying this, and I can say that because he's not here, is that he said that he could see Pat Smullen getting away with it on the front with Snow Sky again. Now, there is absolutely no way that he's going to be allowed to get away with it. We've got Romsdal in there that could be considered a pacemaker. He's going to have to go forward anyway because he's got any amount of stamina over this trip.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to help force the pace with Snow Sky. We've got the likes of Madame Chan can go forward. Eagle Top can sit behind them and help push them forward.
You expect Clever Cookie.
Clever Cookie. He can't be far away. He's not going to beat them for a turn of foot.
No, but usually he's held up in his races, but it's an inferior. Against the inferior opposition. That Italian run is often usually quite prominent, and I think that'll be up at the pace.
I'm just going to put one thing out there. Clever Cookie's 9-1 for a King George.
Yeah, so it's absolutely nonsense, isn't it?
If Clever Cookie wins a King George, I'll be absolutely mortified. No matter what ground it's on, to be honest.
And to be honest, even if it was absolutely bottomless, which it will not be tomorrow, I guarantee you that, I wouldn't be on his side. A stayer like that just doesn't win a race like this. It doesn't happen.
There's sound logic in the theory. Very sound logic in the theory. It can't happen. If
you really have the theory that you want an absolute mudlark tomorrow, then you have to be backing Madame Chiang at double the price than Clever Cookie.
Yeah.
Because she's a better horse at this trip. She's already won a Group 1 over this trip at this course.
On soft ground.
On heavy ground,
yeah.
She'll come on for that return as well. So I'd be tempted in her. If you really think that, then I would not back Clever Cookie. I wouldn't have it on my mind at that price.
Like if you've backed Clever Cookie at
40-50 to 1, which I know
fair enough. That's okay. That's fine. But 9-1, if you're backing Clever Cookie at that price, then
just mental.
It's not the brightest idea. The one that we'll talk about now, the Corsican, who I thought ran a really good race at Ascot. Didn't get the clearest of runs. That was his first try at Group 1 company. Steps up to 1.5 miles, which I think is going to suit. The ground won't inconvenience him. If there's one at a price, he's that.
Yeah, I'd be tempted about him more. Certainly, if you nearly double the price as Clever Cookie, I'd rather be on him because he has got the class at this trip. He's got a class of 10 furlongs, so I'll guarantee he stayed. I mean, at the start of the season, to be honest, I never even I had him on my mind as a really good horse, a really smart, potentially a smart horse this year. But I didn't think even close it'd be finishing 4th in the Prince of Wales and then running in the King George. I just didn't have it on my mind. So
yeah, he's probably earned his place here, hasn't he?
Oh,
more than Clever Cookie, more than
he was arguably unlucky in that Prince of Wales, which was well up to scratch Group 1. I mean, the Great Gatsby's obviously come out and run a blinder since. Free Eagle is a top horse, and he's had some genuine, probably Group 1 performers behind him. Ecto, Spielberg, Criterion, they've all made their level at Group 1. So,
and not saying he was unlucky in the sense that he should have won, but unlucky in the sense he should have been.
He was poorly placed.
Yeah, he should have been third.
So yeah,
a close
third.
A close third. But I completely agree. If there is one that's overpriced and you do want to take one each way at a bigger price, it's the Corsican at 16-1.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's any way around that. The other one that we haven't mentioned yet is Eagle Top, who at the start of the season on our Flat Horses to Follow video, I was very, very close to putting Eagle Top up as the bet of the season in this race. Unfortunately, I went for JFK in the Derby, which didn't really materialise too well. But we were talking earlier about will Eagle Top handle softer ground if he runs.
I think
he will.
I think he'll really like it. And if Golden Horn doesn't run, then I'd be quite tempted. I don't know what the market will be actually, but I'd be quite tempted to back Eagle Top because I know you.
What would he be, about 5-2, 2-1?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. Yeah, maybe some like 11-4, and then Snow Sky 3s. You have to have a Clever Cookie about 4-1, 9-2 on that basis, wouldn't you? Eagle Top. Look, I mean, he's unproven on softer ground. He's maiden. I think time form have it down as good to soft ground, and he handled it well.
Second.
Outstanding horse and automated behind. But you look at his pedigree. His damn Gullwing was an absolute mudlark, and his full sister, the Lark, absolutely loved soft ground herself. So he's bred to absolutely love it. He's by Pivotal as well, who go pretty well on soft ground. So he's actually bred to relish it, if anything. And I think he'll improve a bundle again for Ascot for his last run behind Snow Sky. So Richard Hughes as well, one of his last ever King George. I would be really tempted by Eagle Top if Golden Horn doesn't run. Yeah. I think he's the one to beat without doubt.
Yeah, and at the moment, if Golden Horn does stay in, then my bet would be the Corsican each way at 16-1.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree at all with that either.
I probably wouldn't allow myself for Eagle Top to run in this race and not back him either. I just couldn't face it. I couldn't face it if he won it. But that is all the racing that we will be previewing for tomorrow. It's a good day of racing as well. It's question time. Also, you still got your chance to send in any questions or fancies that you may have. At On The Other Hoof is our Twitter handle. You can tweet us any question, fancy that you have for tomorrow's racing, maybe even Sunday's racing, or something that's caught your eye throughout the weekend. As consistent as night follows day, Kai Wills has sent in the first question to On The Other Hoof. Good evening, Kai. He says, Bashara to win tomorrow, deserves to win a race, some decent efforts that she's put in. Obviously, third at Royal Ascot, the second just beaten in the photo finish in what we'll call the Cherry Hinton, behind Illuminate last time. She's the one to beat, isn't she? But she probably is up against, well, not up against it, isn't going to have an easy task.
Who, Bashara?
Yeah.
No, of course not. But, it's the issue of the ground. I think I could leave it at the price based on the ground. And also, I do think what do I want that for is not to be underestimated, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then he goes on to say, what's the panel's favourite race course and why? Mine is Cheltenham for the top quality racing and Chester for the top birds. I'll say my favourite race course. Cheers, Kai. Thank you, buddy. Professional as always. I'll say Sandown is my favourite just because I grew up. I literally grew up on that course. I've been there since I was about 2. Sandown's always a course that I'll hold very highly. Cheltenham is like none other for the racing, but Sandown would be my favourite for sure. I assume you'd go with Newmarket.
No, I don't go in Newmarket.
Wow.
No,
I have to say,
I spend a lot of time at Newmarket, but I don't really rate it.
But very quickly, York is an outstanding race course.
Oh yeah, York's brilliant.
I hadn't been before the start of this flat season, but moving up to Leeds is a really, really good race course.
What's the questions? Favourite and
favourite race course and why?
Oh, just one. Kai puts 2 in.
Well, he's gone for different reasons.
All right, okay, but all right, my favourite race course and why is probably Goodwood. Speaking of next week,
okay.
I love Glorious Goodwood. It's my favourite meeting of the year. Just absolutely love it.
What's your favourite race course for the birds?
For the birds, certainly not Chester.
Actually, Sandown does have a really good race course for the birds because they've got loads of parakeets and parrots in the trees.
I knew.
They've got loads of them by the parade ring, and if you catch them right, they're making a lot of noises. I'm not being funny. There's a lot there. No.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye. Lee Armstrong complaining that we're late because if Luke ever finishes his shift, sorry, I was working today. We both do have real life jobs. This isn't.
I've got the last episode to do after this, so
this isn't just what we do. We do have real life jobs that we sometimes earn money from. So apologies for that. Tim McEwen sends a question in saying thoughts on Muntaza and Orvar at Newmarket tomorrow. We were talking about Orvar earlier on. We both like as a horse Academy House, who we backed on debut at Newmarket and ran really well. I'm not sure if he suffered a little setback because he was off the track for quite a while and missed Ascot. Ran quite well at Leicester on his second run, just touching off a decent Godolphin horse as well. It was second time out. So I'd probably be siding with Academy House in that just for loyalty more than anything. Muntaza, I have to confess I don't know a great deal about, but against Recorder.
Muntaza, it was really unlucky at the July meeting behind Manified. Should have won. But there's another horse that was really unlucky not to win his maiden, Recorder. That's a really interesting race. I think it's between the two, to be honest. Really, really interesting race, though.
Yeah, very intriguing. Indeed, Hattie Fuller has just tweeted us in capitals saying Cookie Monster.
Brilliant.
Cheers, Hattie. Thanks for that. Matt Wynn has been in fantastic form on the punting front, I have to say.
Yeah.
With this, so this might be worth listening to. I just don't look at his Twitter picture because he looks like a right nonce. It says 6 cents Beshbara if handles the mud / Great Page Grand Inquiz. That's Grand Inquisitor, the stout horse in the York, isn't it?
Yeah.
Susie's Connoisseur, Heaven's Guest, speculative bid in the International Kakatozi, Giretto, who I quite like actually. Giretto tomorrow at Newmarket in one of the later races, I think it is. I think it's Newmarket anyway. If handling the ground, Giretto should go quite close. And Bogart up at York, who you stressed potential stamina doubts over 6.
Potential, yeah. I'd be more keen over 5.
Kev the Punter tweets in, on soft, Madam Chang greater than Cookie, greater than Golden Horn.
Can we block him?
Yeah, Kev, you're blocked, buddy, I'm afraid. That's just nonsense. Agree with Madame Chang on soft ground part. Clever Cookie, just it's no disrespect to the horse. I do like Clever Cookie, but every horse has its grade, and this isn't it. Hattie has then tweeted in a reply to Kev the Punter saying the first 2 the other way round. Hattie drinks a lot. And then Matt Wynn comes back in again saying Golden Horn is drifting to a backable price. However, I'm one of the Clever Cookie backers, and I'm rather happy with my 20-1 now. Like, fair enough, 20-1. You've got a price about Clever Cookie. Personally, I didn't back it at 40-1, and I still probably wouldn't back it at 40-1, if I'm being quite frank. But well done on getting the price. That's the main thing. And a question that we had in from last week about Cartmel, Jackie Kingdom, who had a winner actually with Chili Miss. So congratulations with that, Jackie. After last weekend, I can confirm that Cartmel Sticky Toffee Pudding is extra yummy after a winner. Congratulations on your winner with Chili Miss. We're glad that the Sticky Toffee Pudding at Cartmel is good. Steve Martin. This is a new name, I think.
Yeah.
Do we know Steve Martin?
Don't know Steve.
welcome to On the Other Hoof, Steve Martin. We hope to be seeing you much more in the future. And thank you for tuning in, however you found us. He says, hi guys, great show. Thank you very much. Just wondering, your background in racing, what sparked your interest? That's the first question I'll address. My parents met at Cheltenham. And I had, well, my dad used to be part of a syndicate and owned a few horses with friends. I had no choice whether I liked racing or not. I was thrown into it. Not that I'd change it, because it's an absolutely fantastic sport, but that's my background. And I think we both slowly started to get into the sport through blogging.
Yeah, no, I was always into the sport.
No, I mean, work-wise.
Yeah, blog helped big time in getting a career in racing.
And this.
Yeah, and this.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, drink. Yeah, that's our basic backgrounds. We might delve a bit more into it at another time. The Corsican and Madame Chiang, please. Probably two horses that we've given a bit of a talking up. The course of the show, the Corsican and Madame Chiang.
Yeah, Corsican
at the prices. I'd rather have Corsican than Madame Chiang. And then Steve goes on to say, P.S. thoughts on 3-year-old allowance. Does it taint Golden Horn's possible demolition of the older horses, given £11 by the Grey Gatsby? I think it'd be enough levels, to be honest.
Yeah, it's weight for age at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, for all it's pretty lenient, and it's clearly proven that it is a lenient amount to give, but at the end of the day, he does deserve to be getting weight because he's inexperienced. And
yeah, well,
it doesn't hinder the fact that he's an outstanding horse.
It's not something that you can really hold against him, is it? Because he's got no choice in it.
No.
He can just beat what's put in front of him, and he did so in very good style when beating the Grey Gatsby. But I wouldn't say it taints the armory of him at all. Anyway, right, that's all the questions that we have in for this evening. Thank you very much for getting in touch with the show, everyone that did. Nap time. Is it Tanzil?
I'm going for Tanzil. I've got nothing else. So.
No, I have absolutely nothing tomorrow. The one bet I've had tomorrow is Sir Robert Cheval. So I'm going to nap him each way.
Oh, God.
I'm going to try and break the On the Other Hoof record of what's the biggest price nap winner?
Exactly.
Cheers. So if Adam, this is where Adam comes into his own. Yeah, we need Adam. I'd say he's 16 to 1. Around that would be the biggest price. I think Michael with that German rag at Lingfield. Yeah. Emerald Rose, I think it was. The one in Group 3, the Chartwell or something. Yeah. I'll nap Sir Robert Cheval each way at 40 to 1. He's as short as 25s in places, but 40 to 1 seems a general consensus. Tanzil for you up at York. Thank you for joining me tonight.
That's all right.
Whereas others couldn't, Adam. It's good to be on a show next to you again, because we haven't done it for a while.
No. Overdue.
Goodwood next week as well. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Should be a good week.
Both down and both working all 5 days.
Yeah,
as well. So if you guys do see us on course, please do come up and say hi. It's great meeting you whenever we can. Enjoy Glorious Goodwood if you are going. If not, then you can enjoy it from home. Also, the Galway Festival starts next week, which is always an enjoyable evening viewing after Glorious Goodwood, or the day's racing at Goodwood, is over. Until next week on the Other Hoof, thank you for tuning in this evening. Have a wonderful day of betting tomorrow. Have a good week. Enjoy Glorious Goodwood. Goodbye.